Look what the algorithm has suggested me to watch. Anti-travestite plushie? What on earth is that? No, I meant this one. Apart from Asmongold, of course. I meant this one. You know that I just can't stand Destiny. I think I made that one quite clear. I believe the feeling is mutual, considering that he called me a non-human. So anyways, this is Andrew Wilson. Here's the thing. I think Andrew Wilson is awesome. If you have a problem with that, cope. But I mean, debunking Destiny's lies, I'm all for it. Let's go.
What's interesting is the least mentally ill in terms of numbers is conservative men. Conservative men, I think it's like...
They're normal.
I think, okay.
Because they don't go to the hospital. They just sit there in their homes and die of diabetes.
It's really funny because I steelman this argument myself because Destiny's making an argument from stigma. Yeah, no, they're just as crazy as we are. It's just that they just don't go get help for it. That's all. It's just that they just don't go get help. That's all. That's all it is. No, well, maybe it's they just don't go get help, or maybe it's just that they're not crazy. Why is that always just taken off the table?
Because all he's doing is propaganda and mental manipulation. Plus, I mean, Destiny's broken. We have to understand this. Like, this guy's mentally gone completely. This is just me. I can't prove it, but I think he's taking something before he films. Because he's too agitated, too fast. It's just me.
No, it's because they're just not crazy. That's all. Nobody's ever going to do that, are they? Ever.
Young liberal women, 56% report a mental health diagnosis.
Wow.
Young moderate women, 18 to 29, 28%. Young conservative women, 27%, only slightly less. So for men, it is 34% of all liberal men. 34%. So a third of all liberal men are mentally ill, 22% of moderate men, and 16% of conservative men.
Yeah, but do you know what the lunatics argue? When you bring that up. These lunatics
that they want to go to the hospital.
The conservative men are just as mentally ill. It's just undiagnosed because there's a stigma in conservative communities about going to get your mental illness diagnosed. I always point out, and I think this is see how I steelman the argument myself?
Absolutely.
You Coomer gremlin. It's so funny they'll never mention them. Yeah, I did. Yes, I did. You little.
He did.
Interesting way to point this out.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they're not going to get diagnosed because they don't have a problem. Did you ever think of that?
It's possible it's undiagnosed because I think that...
Did you? Like, did you ever think of that?
It would make his entire worldview collapse, so no. He doesn't think that. He doesn't accept that. They think every single person who is in a left-winger like them, whether it be an actual leftists, like Hassan, or whether it be a liberal, progressive, whatever the heck, unless if you're that, then you're high IQ, super intelligent, science, and all that stuff. But if you are centrist, moderate, right-leaning, conservative, MAGA, all the way up to freaking extremist, all the same, all stupid, all low IQ, and they feel good about themselves. They don't understand that there are intelligent people that have different political leanings. It is what it is. It's just a fact. They don't agree with that. They don't. It's just doesn't make them feel good. They love the aura of superiority.
Did you ever think about the fact that maybe they're not going and getting diagnosed because they have much better family infrastructure? They have religious communities. They can talk with their boys. They don't get offended by everything everybody says.
Right.
They don't get upsetty spaghetti if their friend calls them the F slur. Do you ever think of?
And also there is the idea that a lot of it is pushed by the ideology itself. When you are very left-wing in the American sense, I got to specify, what happens is that I personally think you're pushed into a lot of stuff. Now, you could argue, to Stillman, you could argue that that happens on the right within religious circles. Fine, we can talk about that if you want. Definitely there are parents that are ultra pushy when it comes to that. I will definitely bring up my children in the faith, but I won't try to force it onto them. Also because it's a stupid thing to do, because then they want to get away from it. Like, it doesn't work. It's a phenomenon that exists and then produces what people usually refer to as church hurt, which is bad. But they get pushed into the stuff a lot since they're kids now. They get put into the LGBTQ stuff. And again, I'm not saying that there are, of course, people that are born in a certain way, but there are absolutely kids, particularly, and teenagers that are pushed into the pronoun thing, the maybe I identify as this, identify that, just for social points, because they're special now, because they get the social rewards for it, because the parents, since they want to show the world, a virtual signal to the world, how progressive and open-minded they are, they reinforce that, they encourage that, and that creates situations that don't exist and wouldn't have existed unless you had pushed them. So a lot of problems like, oh yeah, everyone now is autistic. Everyone is like, oh yeah, I think I have autism. No, you don't. No, you don't. And if you do, then you're one of the people that really does. But there are a lot of it's really annoying.
About that. Like, really, honestly, what would happen if you were in a community where just like everybody all the time, like I'm just saying, like let's really look at this if we break this whole thing down. So you have to understand that when we're inside of these communities, and these are great communities, by the way, people are going to get hyper offensive because people say hyper offensive things, and of course that leads to stigma in society, and that ups the mental illness. Of course, like 1 + 1 = 2, exactly. Like, what are we talking about here? And then on top of that, here's Andrew Wilson saying there's some kind of like infrastructure difference that these conservatives have access to. It's like the jaw.
It is accurate, though, that there is a stigma about mental health and therapy and things along those lines in conservative. I mean, if you want to, like,
I agree, but I also think that what happens is,
it's so funny because we were having a different conversation.
Hold it there, traveler. Do you know what this is? This is my Twitch channel called Metatron Gemini. I play a lot of games, it's a lot of fun. So don't be a muppet and click the link in the description box. Look, I even put it as a pinned comment. What else do you want me to do? I made it so easy. Come on. Follow me on Twitch. See you there.
Do you think there's a stigma around like vets being able to get diagnosed for issues related to, like war or combat or whatever else? All of a sudden we would be the most something. Oh yeah. Like they're doing the thing that feminists say they do that they get so mad that feminists say they do. Whenever feminists are like, oh no, feminism cares about men too, because, we think that the patriarchy also oppresses men's ability to have mental health stuff or whatever. But
I believe that that's true. I believe that feminists believe that feminism is good for men.
Or some don't care because they hate all men. I think there is a sub-sector of that.
They're totally doing the thing that they always do, where they conflate issues that have nothing to do with one another at all. And Andrew over here, like, if a feminist, where the hell Andrew would be like, hey, feminism is actually really good for men. He would be like, no, the thing is, though, is like, I just totally don't believe that you believe that. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, no, you jawed Coomer gremlin.
That is
I do believe that feminists believe that. I just think they're stupid.
they're like, but then when they're talking about like an issue from another perspective, like, actually, no, that never happens. No, actually, men don't actually have these mental health problems.
Oh, that's funny because there was a concession 5 seconds before this that, yes, there is a stigma around reporting mental health issues. I agree that that's true, but it's not going to account for the significant differences. That's one.
Agreed.
And two, we have communities. We have different communities. This is the problem. Stupid commentary by a dumb gremlin.
All like liberal blah, 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 blah. But if you were to talk about like veterans or whatever else, now the thing would shift a lot. Or the fact that like, here are all of these...
No, it wouldn't shift. What the f is he even talking about? The thing about Destiny is, all you have to do is sit there and let him launch into his bull and then think about it for a couple seconds before you respond. You'll find out that none of it makes any sense.
Here are all of these men.
It is like a shower of words. It's really word salad. People call me a guy who uses word salad. Mind you, the people that do that is because they don't understand the words I'm using. That's the reality. And I have proven this on camera, where people are like, why is he using this word? What does it mean? It's not what this word means. And then I show the dictionary and I was right. And they just didn't know what the word freaking meant. So for him, he does create a shower of points that it's a mess. And I think it's a technique that he uses to confuse. I personally believe that.
And that are these young men that are having these issues and nobody wants to talk about their issues. Nobody wants to talk about their depression. That's why Jordan Peterson and Andrew Tate are so important. But the position is like, it completely changes just based on the topic, like the perspective.
Nope. Well, I mean, the issue does change based on the perspective. That's true. Notice how you name two people who aren't me, the guy who's talking. The second thing to point out here is that there can be unique, challenging issues to one particular demographic, in this case, young men. Not all young men are right-wingers. That's one.
Obviously, yeah.
And then the second issue that you have here is that even, let's just grant that they were, that would be one particular demographic, in this case, young men who feel like their concerns aren't being heard. When it comes to something hyper-specific, like dating, the marketplace for wives, and things like this, not that they're being unheard about having to go and do grimy jobs. I agree, but I also think that what happens is when you're talking, especially.
I'll say this: I agree, and yeah, because Joe Rogan also just kind of completely contradicted him. He's like, "Oh, I agree, yeah." I kind of think that maybe all the men are just mentally healthy. And Joe goes, well, I think there are issues there. And it's like, yeah, I agree. And then it's like, okay.
I didn't say I think all the men are mentally healthy. You see what I mean? Just lies and bull.
Lies. I know. I had three, in fact, if you add X, but I had 2 interactions with him on a video where literally he would take something I said, pretend I said something completely different and attack that. Or scream, because that's what he does, literally. That's why I had to say to Destiny that the validity of his points is not directly proportional to the volume at which he speaks. And that's one thing. The other thing is that on X, you should see what he said on X. It was unbelievable. Like, either he doesn't understand his own language, because I write in English. I didn't write it in Italian or Sicilian. And he completely misrepresented everything that was written in plain, crystal clear English. So I believe he does it on purpose, because I don't think Destiny's stupid. I mean, he's gone mentally, so maybe there is that. Maybe his reading and comprehension has been hit hard from all the stress, I think the substance, probably, I don't know, can't prove it, allegedly, and being in the political space for too long probably F's with your head, I imagine. Or he does it on purpose and he's an actual pathological liar. Maybe it's a bit of both.
Just straw man lies and bullshit. Nobody said that.
So you're too scared to debate him? He is also, by the way. Like, I would be surprised if they have a significant disagreement anywhere in here, because he's so cucked and they have to agree on everything.
About the voodoo that is psychology, and it is voodoo.
It is voodoo.
I have very little respect for psychology.
Right.
I don't even consider it science. I consider that there's scientific methods used for data gathering, but I don't consider psychology a science.
And that's psychology. Psychiatry gets weirder because then you start adding medication.
Yeah,
You're not just talking about therapy.
It's all voodoo, as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
I think that men often, especially conservative,
Maybe not all of it, but I do understand the idea of psychology, like a degree in psychology personally doesn't have the same validity as a degree in physics. And I think that that's not a weird thing to say, or mathematics, or languages for that matter, which I do, even though it's my degree, put it underneath. Language and culture is my degree, so it had a whole section on history. But still, I would put my own degree underneath, like someone who can do theoretical physics. Psychology, though, I put it very low personally. There are some aspects of it. I don't know if he actually means it. Maybe he's being hyperbolic. Probably he's being hyperbolic. There are some aspects and some pattern recognitions and things that, psychologists that study it and dedicate their lives into this can figure out that there are some things, like maybe if you do this, like for instance, body language is interesting when they use it in the police. It's not like this magical or omniscient skill that allows you to figure out whether someone is lying or not, but there are some things that are interesting when you see professionals using them that do connect to psychology and some ways in which we manifest the things that go on in our head. But I do agree it's pretty low. Yeah, I agree with that.
men get as much out of their close relationships with friends and family as they would going to a psychologist. In other words, I think just having.
Oh, that's so crazy. Huh.
Is it?
If you have a bunch of healthy relationships in your real life, you would get just as much out of that. Oh, really?
What's so weird about that?
Really? You mean you agree with my entire point that I was making? Dumb
Sounds like-
Coomer Gremlin?
Sounds like it.
Oh, isn't that crazy? Wow, look at that. Destiny's, Andrew's right. He's 100% right here. Yeah. Isn't it crazy that if you have healthy, good relationships with people, will not have to go see a shrink? Who would ever have thunk it? Exactly. It's very strange.
That's crazy. Like, personally, I feel the same way about
Isn't it? Isn't it crazy?
incels. Like, I think that you get just as much out of having like a happy, healthy, loving relationship with a woman who accepts you for who you are as you would, I guess, like doing whatever.
Who accepts you for who you are is red flag to me, because I know what he means by it.
Crazy incels are going to, right? No f***ing Sherlock Holmes.
That's right. So you were earlier disagreeing with a point that you don't actually disagree with, you stupid Cooming idiot. Here, the Coomer Gremlin is pointing out that I'm absolutely right, that they have happy, healthy relationships, and so they're not nearly as psychologically distressed as these leftoid mongoloids are.
Jesus Christ. If you have happy, healthy friends and your life is like incredibly well adjusted and isn't deviating and skewing hardcore off the norm in a way that's unhealthy, yeah, no you don't need to go to a psychiatrist.
So basically, his mocking attitude is his way to say, I agree with this point. This is how incapable this clown that Destiny is. This is how incapable he is to be decent, civil about anything in his interactions, online, and at this point, I imagine offline. He can't even say, you know what, I agree with that point. No, he has to mock you. Disgusting.
You moron.
Can't stand him. If you're enjoying this video so far, please take a moment to check out my Patreon page. With as little as a $5 support, you can help us ensure that we can continue to produce high quality and high researched content. And at the same time, you get access to polls, extra videos, unlisted streams, and much more. Thank you so much. I really can't.
How does that make me a moron?
Exactly.
Oh, you really pinned me down on this one. The coping gremlin did, didn't he? Ooh, really got a hold of me on this one, didn't he? Boy, oh boy. Yeah, of course. Clearly, you have well-adjusted relationships because you're not a dysgenic lunatic who's inside of these various leftist discords. You might not have to go to shrinks as much. Of course, that's probably the case, dummy. Oh, okay. You got me. Oh, this guy's on a roll. He's just clobbering the shit out of me. I don't know how I'm ever going to recover from this one.
Somebody to talk to who's a close friend, who's intricately familiar with your situation, probably gives you more value than going to a complete stranger who has...
I also hate when people give these statements that everybody agrees with. That everybody, even on the science side.
Oh, now we're switching it around, huh? We switching it around a little bit? I hate the fact that everybody... First of all, everybody doesn't agree with that statement. Dumb, cooming moron.
True.
But also, let us point out the obvious, which is that just mere moments ago, he was disagreeing with this statement. Now agreeing with the statement.
Like, if you were to ask any psychiatrist or psychologist, what do you think is better? For me to go and get a therapist, or for me to have a group of friends that's very supportive of me, is aware of my situation, and can give me good feedback on everything going on, knowing they have my best interest at heart, and I don't have to actually, like, pay the money for it, and it's a genuine connection.
Yeah, but do you see the distinction here? The distinction here is not whether or not there would be some kind of universal agreement with my statement that having a good infrastructure of friends and family to support you during your very trying times that you can trust would be better than a psychologist. It's whether or not it's the case that the conditionals that conservatives build for themselves utilizing religious institutions and the various belief structures that they have provides the infrastructure for that exact conditional. That's what we're really getting at, isn't it? And the thing that Destiny is not actually addressing. And that's the most important aspect. Why is the left more mentally ill? Because the way that they live their lives, the horrible, horrific ways in which they live their lives lead to massive ostracizing from general society because they introduce their own stigmas to themselves.
There is also one thing I want to add. I'm agreeing with him, but one thing that they do, at least in the radical left, and I know some of you are like, there is no radical left, they're all the same. I don't believe that. I have not to believe that. I got friends that are normal people. When Charlie Kirk was shot, they're left wing. They're like, that was horrible. Why did that happen? They didn't even need to go into the... So I disagreed with everything he said, but it didn't deserve to be shot because that pisses me off as well. It's completely useless to say. It's fine, even if we have different ideas on social aspects, as long as they're not lunatics. So yeah, there are a lot of lunatics on the left, and that's the ones I tend to prefer to qualify, including Destiny and Hassan. I qualify them as radical leftists. I understand that not everyone agrees with that, but I'm just going to say what I believe, right? On my platform, I think that's normal. And the thing is that a lot of radical leftists, they will cut ties with family that loves them because they are bigots. So to kind of add to this conversation here, if it's so obvious as a point, Destiny says, that having a stronger, healthy relationship with your family helps you avoiding the freaking therapist, then isn't it a problem that a lot of left-wing circles specifically push you to cut ties with people even if they are not this insane fascist like you depict them? They're just normal people. Normal people that simply are not as left as you. It happens a lot because you identify everyone as a Nazi. And so when you start doing that, oh, you're a Nazi. Okay, cut ties. I don't want to talk to you, Dad, ever again. I don't want to talk to my brother ever again. I stopped talking to my cousin even though we loved each other because... And so you're cutting ties with all the people that love you. And then you go mentally ill. It's obvious. Now, to Stillman Destiny's argument, just like Andrew does, so we're going to learn from him, if you will, when it comes to this. Yes, sometimes it does happen in highly religious environments within conservative right, the Christian right, that some people will, like if you're gay, for instance, they'll be like, I don't want to see you ever again. Of course it happens. But it is a minority. And I disagree with that. I disagree with that. It's your son. You need to provide for your son. It's your son. You got to defend him. And there are very few scenarios in which I would be like, if there's a drug situation, you try to help, but now it's starting to become dangerous. That's just one of the cases where I'll be like, you got to cut ties, particularly if there are other children or if your wife protecting. That's different. But like if your son is gay and you are like, oh, get out of my house, I don't want to see you ever again. No, I think that's wrong. It does happen. So of course that would be a situation where that can happen on the conservative side too, where some people do that and so they are cutting ties. And that's wrong, but it's not the same. I personally find a lot more, at least in the moderate right, I find a lot more people that are willing to have a conversation and sit down. Think of a Charlie Kirk. People are willing to sit down and have a conversation, even if you have different disagreements. We can still be friends, we can still be family, even though we disagree on a lot of points. But on the left, this is a lot less common. And you if you want to convince me, you can, but you're going to have to give me some proper data, because in my experience and for what I've seen and for the data that I've been able to see, it's the left that cuts ties with family a lot more often than the right when there are political disagreements. And do keep in mind, the being gay is not a political disagreement, is it? So when it comes to political disagreements, it is what it is. Also because there are some traditional values, and one of the traditional values is you're my son, you're my daughter, I'll take care of you. And it is a traditional Christian value. So there's that.
People don't like. They don't like how they live. That simple. They don't like how they live. Phrasing, we should not be talking about destiny grabbing bulls, sir. Oh, yeah. True.
Well, I think you should actually get some Prozac. Like,
learned manipulation techniques. That's what they learn, essentially, is manipulation techniques. I think there's more value there. And so I think that the stigma which exists there, it doesn't exist because it's like you're not manly, which is how they try to frame it. I think the stigma exists there because so many conservative men go, well, I tried that, it was nonsense. I tried it and it sucked. I tried it and it was worth. I went to marriage counseling, did nothing. Sided with the wife, right? I went for this issue, did nothing.
I like how that's the example. I tried marriage counseling and they sided against me, so I knew it was bullshit. What if, God.
What do you know,
God, nothing.
Destiny? What do you know?
Destiny triangles, by the way. Yes, this is unfortunately the case.
Yeah, do not listen to Destiny for marriage advice and successful couple advice and parenting. Just don't.
That many men go to marriage counseling, and the marriage counselor usually is a woman. And those women often have a bias towards women to the point of absurdity.
I don't know.
Now, why is it that you think that it is the case that more men walk away from marriage counseling thinking that it was worthless, and women walk away from it thinking that they have validation? Could that be, is it either A, because all of the men are wrong, or B, because there's a bit of a stigma?
A bias, yeah.
Utilizing
I can see that.
behavior and no stigma against women doing it.
We should just watch the HDR video.
You should, I think.
You should,
but
you
when I went
should.
out and had some beers with my friends, that actually helped relieve.
Because they all took my side. You know what he sounds like? He sounds like a f***ing spoiled girl right now, spoiled white girl. I tried talking to the person and they didn't agree with me at all. But then when I went up with my girls and they all said, yeah, that guy, they all agreed.
Why is this focusing around agreement?
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I would say that the opposite is true. Oftentimes, the reason that going out with your buddies and getting some beers is better stress relief than going to a psychologist and trying to overly explain a situation that they're unfamiliar with and don't have intricate knowledge of because they're not your friends, leads to terrible advice giving, terrible relationship advice giving, and also they're not there to communicate with you the same way your friends would. Here's a good example of
And your friends care and don't need to be paid for it. You know, I am going to agree with this also because I'm a European. Therapy is not a thing as much compared to America, I suppose. Although when I say America, is it like a blue state thing? I don't know. You'll tell me, Americans, if you're in chat. How common is it in your experience? Well, let me know what state you're from if you're American. And let me know how common it is. Because back in Europe, I've never seen anyone, or I've never heard of any friend, family, anyone that I knew that actually went to therapy. Never happened in my entire life.
this that you often will run into with very good friends that you probably won't run into in a professional setting with a psychologist. Hey, Andrew, stop being such a stupid idiot. Go home. Tell your wife that you were being a idiot.
Yeah, true.
And
Exactly.
it won't happen again because you're out of line.
Yeah, why is he already like misrepresenting it because it's the way he can make fun of it, because that's all he does. Look at his face. That's all he does. He laughs at you, he mocks you, and that's his way to try and exert dominance during the conversation, because he doesn't have the ability, particularly when he's distracted playing a game while he's doing this. Is kind of, and then he looks like, what are you trying to be, a TikToker? That's what he does.
Many times you guys had this conversation. It doesn't have to be with a wife, right? And it's just an example.
Of course.
But any number of times and examples you've had a friend tell you, what are you, stupid?
True.
Problem's you.
Yeah.
Problem's you, dummy.
Yeah. He probably doesn't talk to a friend, so he doesn't know. He thinks it's all about, oh, your buddies are going to agree with you. I just had a call with a friend of mine and told him, mate, you're making the same mistake again. Told him straight to his face. It's true. I just had that call. Good friend of mine from Sicily. He's a brother to me, but goodness gracious, when it comes to women, he'll never learn.
So stop being a dumb.
True.
How many times? Happens all. Yeah, I've been on both sides. Exactly. I've been on the side telling them you're being stupid.
Yeah.
And I've been on the side where I've been the one being told that I'm being stupid. But immediately it just comes into this idea of, oh, well, they must agree with me, so therefore true.
Because
Like,
he has to
it's much more
misrepresent.
complex than that.
Yeah.
You're often going to have disagreements. It's not that. It's that they don't even feel like this person's familiar enough with the situation to really understand. Or perhaps they're just not very good at giving overly detailed explanations. Women are often better at that. They categorize insignificant details that men often don't.
That's not true.
Quick examples of this. Dates, specific times, appointments, right? Birthdays, anniversary, like that. To many men, these are essentially trivial details.
Yep.
They're trivial in the scheme of things, so they'll write them down and things like this, or even make a mental note they should remember them. But they become trivialities in comparison to other things that they're generally interested in.
Yeah.
Happens all the time. So women can often plead their case much better because they remember many of the trivialities or insignificant details. And men are like, no, that's not what happened. But they talk to their friends, and they can perhaps give a better explanation or accounting of what's going on. What is this lunatic's obsession with you anyway? Well, in this particular case, I don't think Destiny's overly obsessed with me. Not at all. But I think that he was really pissed I went on Rogan.
Absolutely. The guy was so envious. He couldn't believe it. I was all over the place when I saw that. I'm like, I posted the picture. I'm like, hey, Andrew Wilson, congratulations, brother. I can never understand envy. Like, if Destiny went on Joe Rogan, not that that's ever going to happen, I don't think, but even if it did happen, and as a result, he grew, even though I cannot stand him, I just don't envy people. I don't have that in me. I'm sure I have many other bad things about myself, okay? I've got other things that I need to work on, but envy, it's never been a thing. And yet there are people that not only are envious of the people they dislike, at least it makes logical sense, but they're also envious and jealous of people that they like, friends, family. I think it's a poison, talking about mental illness, you know?
I think the problem with that is there's a lot of guys who don't have good friends, you know?
Wow, wow, you don't say.
Look at this.
And you don't have
Look
someone
at
you can
this.
count,
Yeah, leftists. Leftists.
unfortunately.
No,
A lot of men out there that
Really?
are lost.
I agree, but I think that the conservative men seem like they
oh, I agree.
have closer longevity with friends than progressive.
Than anything.
What is he supposed to say? I disagree to something he agrees with. Like, this is ridiculous.
Progressives. Really? Yeah, you really think so?
men do.
Yes, and they don't abandon them when they
Yes, I really think so. 100%, I really think so. Here's my proof. My proof is that when all of the kids of you dropped all over the internet that were all on the Destiny casting couch came out, all your little friends, all your little buddies went, not me. I'm not with this guy. This guy, I don't want nothing to do with him. Not I, said the guy. All of them went running the other direction. Your little buddy Pisco went running off. Your little friend, not so erudite, suddenly wasn't much of a friend anymore. Just one after the other, after the next. All your little buddies went running the other direction as quick as possible. That's what happens in the lefty circles.
Well, definitely with someone like Destiny and the kind of stuff that he's involved with and all the stuff that came out. And oh, goodness gracious, the lawsuits. And the next one is Mizkif. And boy, I'm so looking forward to see how that one is going to end up, because I know that the Roach King will win. Until then, take care.